A lifeless deer sprawls on the grass as Bear starts reminiscing about his mother's wise words. A pack of weasel-like creatures is viciously attacking the deer remains. Wolf Bro is enjoying his meal, reflecting on his mom's advice to sometimes act like a coward. A giant paw intrudes into the scene, while our guy is still mulling over that whole cowardice idea. Mid-bite, Wolf Bro's eye widens as he realizes he's not alone. A colossal bear's nose sniffs around, and our dude is still contemplating the essence of fear. The massive bear strolls into the clearing with an air of authority. The rest of the pack completely freaks out, yelling that the monster has arrived. The bear plants its enormous paw down while the pack insults him, calling him a nasty brute. Big Bear lets out an earth-shattering roar, practically ordering everyone to clear out of his territory. The pack stands frozen in terror, sweating bullets over the deer remains. Wolf Bro wonders why he should ever hold back, while Big Bear looks genuinely baffled. Our guy barks at the bear, and his packmates are losing it over his impending doom. He delivers a grand speech about pride and standing tall after going 3 days without food. Big Bear's paw interrupts that monologue with a hefty dose of reality. The bear simply swats Wolf Bro away, sending him flying as if he weighs nothing at all. Our boy is bleeding in midair, still ranting about how his strength defines him. The pack can only stare in utter shock as their fearless leader gets one-shotted. Wolf Bro's body crashes to the ground as Big Bear takes his rightful place at the feast. The frightened pack kneels as the bear questions them about his tactics. Big Bear looms over the deer remains while the terrified pack simply watches him. The bear gives them a look that dares any of them to challenge him, provoking them to make a move. The whole pack instantly turns tail and sprints away at lightning speed. Big Bear calls them fools for only grasping the situation after witnessing their friend getting wrecked. The bear's gaze narrows as he looks back, still reflecting on the confrontation. A final glimpse of the deer remains before the bear claims his hard-earned feast. Big Bear begins to munch, declaring that the free meat is the only reason the pack is still breathing. We hear a random history tidbit about a prehistoric mega bear. As he strides away, the bear releases a gigantic blood-soaked burp after finishing his meal. The deer is now nothing but bones, and Big Bear is already whining about feeling hungry once more. Big Bear licks his paw clean, shrugging off any drama. The bear stands up, ready to move on after his appetizer. He takes a deep sniff of the air, pondering his next move. Big Bear roars loudly as the narrator kicks off a history lesson. His ear flicks, picking up on something from afar. We see a full-on documentary card labeling him as a prehistoric mega bear. The narrator shares that these ancient bears were usually omnivores, but naturally, the story throws in the classic, "This one is different" twist. Big Bear's eyes snap open, confirming he's sturdier than his forebears. He zeroes in on a target to the southeast, striding forward as if he has a dinner reservation. Big Bear bolts into a full sprint, looking overly excited about the prospect of more food. The narrator states he's a true meat enthusiast, trailing the scent of blood to his next feast. We've heard he totally bypasses berries and grass because he's a dedicated carnivore. This guy is sprinting across the plains, moving way faster than any bear should be. The narrator amps up his love for meat, claiming it's on an entirely different level. We switch to a leopard who just snagged a fresh horse for dinner. The leopard stands proudly over its prize, likely pondering how delicious this meal will be. A massive bear appears over the hill like a fierce terminator, spotting the leopard's hard-won feast. The bear roars, making it clear to the leopard that his meal is about to be swiped. The leopard promptly makes a hasty retreat, realizing fighting against a creature like that isn't worth it. The narrator mentions that Big Bear enjoys watching his prey bolt in panic. Big Bear gripes about the leopard being a coward, but concedes he would have taken him down anyway. He takes a deep breath of the fresh horse meat, getting pumped for a feast as the bear relishes the freshness of his stolen meal. Prepared to devour, Big Bear opens his enormous jaws to take his first bite of the loot. Suddenly, some loud crunching sounds erupt from the nearby trees. Mid-chomp, Big Bear halts, realizing he might not be alone. A colossal foot with gigantic claws slams down beside him. Big Bear shoots an intimidating glare at the newcomer, appearing completely unbothered by the size difference. The challenger is identified as a gigantic prehistoric sloth known as a myodon. The narrator clarifies this enormous sloth, the myodon, is an omnivore that also enjoys meat. Big Bear merely sighs, referring to the sloth as the real clueless one for attempting to confront him. The two titans face off, with Big Bear vowing to show him the hierarchy. The myodon showcases its enormous claws, trying to intimidate. We get a close-up of the sloth's claws, resembling prehistoric daggers. Big Bear remains totally unfazed, ridiculing the sloth for believing a claw display would be effective. The myodon, provoked, swings wildly with its massive paw. Big Bear effortlessly sidesteps the blow while calling the sloth a coward. He gears up his own paw, ready to defeat the sloth with a hefty strike. Big Bear delivers a brutal hit, promising to show the sloth what a true fight entails. The Myodon stumbles around, bloody, as Big Bear mocks him about the fight ending. Big Bear's temper flares, yelling that he hasn't finished the thrashing yet. He then lands a powerful follow-up blow on the sloth, sending blood flying everywhere. The sloth's head twists unnaturally from the force of that hit. The Myodon's body collapses as it goes down for good, and Big Bear simply watches. We get a view from above of the sloth knocked out cold while Big Bear stands over his handiwork. The Myodon groans weakly, barely conscious after that brutal beating. Big Bear lets out a triumphant roar, establishing himself as the ruler of this territory. The narrator emphasizes he's the strongest as the sloth lies defeated. We flash back to a baby Big Bear named Bujorn, getting chewed out by his mother. Mama Bear is scolding baby Bujorn for picking on his weaker brother. She keeps shouting, questioning why he's always snatching food from other cubs. Bujorn merely sweats, looking thoroughly uninterested in this lecture as his mom threatens to get angry. He talks back, whining that she's always upset and nagging him regardless. His mom brings him to a cliff for a heart-to-heart, asking if he understands why she scolds him. Baby Bujorn just sits there, looking gloomy and confused as if he has no clue. Mama Bear's expression softens, revealing that she's simply concerned about her little creature. The kid wonders if her constant nagging means he's her least favorite. Bujorn looks genuinely taken aback as his mom calls him out on that nonsense. She ultimately tells him that it's because she cares about him, and our boy comes to understand she really does care. Baby Bujorn gazes upward, finally absorbing his mom's words about him being a little monster. Mama Bear tells him life is tough, and adult Bjorn admits he disregarded everything she said. We shift to a prehistoric armadillo, swinging a literal mace for a tail. The mace tail is gearing up for what the narrator describes as an unavoidable clash. Two of these armored creatures start circling one another in a classic territorial display. They continue their maneuvering as the narrator explains this is serious business. One of the armored beasts gets aggressive, knowing that the loser gets kicked out of the area. His opponent is utterly terrified, realizing he might face dire consequences. The unfortunate guy is still trembling as the narrator discusses fairness and equity in battle. Naturally, the fight ends with the fearful one having his face smashed in. The defeated My Tail is down for the count, howling in pain after that beating. We get a slow-motion replay of the mace tail hitting the poor guy's face. The vanquished armadillo writhes on the ground as the narrator lays out the high stakes. The victor stands tall, face splattered with blood, looking like a real savage. The narrator gives us the whole their future was at stake speech. My man's eye socket is utterly crushed from that savage finishing blow. The grass is truly stained with blood, highlighting just how brutal the confrontation was. The victor stands proudly over the defeated, officially resolving the territorial quarrel. The loser Mystale struggles to his feet, aware that he's been exiled. The defeated one begins his shameful walk. Forced to abandon his home after being wrecked, the vanquished Mystale stumbles into the wilderness, barely managing to hold himself together after the beating. My man is crawling along the ground, completely worn out, just trying to find a spot to rest. He drags his battered body down a path, probably hoping the worst is behind him. The poor guy lets out a breath of relief, thinking he's finally out of danger. But a random scavenger bear suddenly appears behind him, ready to ruin his already miserable day. The mace tail looks up in pure terror, realizing he just moved from one terrible situation to another. A loud thwack resonates through the trees as the bear makes its move. And just like that, the exiled mace tail collapses lifelessly on the ground. The scavenger bear begins licking the corpse, thrilled about his lucky find and the free meal. He gets excited about the fresh meat, exclaiming this feast is going to last him quite a while. The scavenger bear struggles to haul the mace tail's body, complaining about its weight. He finally gets the body arranged, ready to enjoy his hard-earned stolen feast. Just as he is about to dig in, he notices a gigantic footprint that definitely isn't his. The bear's eye twitches as his survival instincts kick in, informing him that something feels off. He gazes down at the enormous paw print, realizing an unexpected visitor has arrived. We see a wide shot of the bear and its catch, setting the scene for yet another encounter. Suddenly, loud crunching noises resonate from the trees, interrupting their peaceful meal. We switch to a different anxious bear asking his friend if they are truly safe. His companion is too busy wolfing down food to pay attention, questioning what the fuss is about. The anxious bear reminds him they're on the territory of the notorious Bujorn. He wonders if it's wise to eat so freely in someone else's domain. His greedy friend brushes off the worry, asserting they've just stumbled across a complimentary dinner. The greedy bear tries to reassure himself that the tales about Bujorn are just blown out of proportion. Just as he speaks about the local myth, a gigantic paw slides into view. He doubts the story that Bjorn kills for enjoyment, completely unaware of the danger looming over him. Big Bear Bjorn appears on the ridge, already grumbling about the disrespect from these youngsters. Bjorn immediately calls them out, demanding to know who gave them the green light to be on his turf. The two intruding bears finally notice Bjorn approaching and comprehend they've committed a grave error. Bjorn lays down the rules, warning that the first one to budge will meet their end. Our guy gives them a fierce glare, clearly weighing how he'll ruin their day. A mama bear with her cubs asks whether it's only the three of them who are trespassing. The anxious bear addresses Bjorn with far too much deference, clearly on the verge of losing control. He begins desperately explaining that they didn't realize this was his territory and merely followed their meal here. His friend jumps in with the same lame excuses. Bjorn scoffs, showing he's fed up with their whining. Bjorn finally orders the two troublemakers to be quiet, and they instantly stiffen. He asks if they honestly think he's some maniac who kills just for trespassing. He feigns understanding, saying he knows that young bears make hunting blunders. The two fools actually believe him, breathing a sigh of relief that the rumors were exaggerated. The anxious bear looks around, hearing something that leaves him utterly bewildered. Bjorn's paw crushes the greedy bear's skull, and he gives the other one 10 seconds to escape. The anxious bear stares in horror at his buddy's shattered skull. Bjorn lays down the rules for his twisted version of tag. If he catches you, you're dinner. The unfortunate soul realizes he's in deep trouble and begins to scream for his life. A 10-second countdown begins, transforming the entire forest into a death trap. The anxious bear continues counting in his head, completely losing his sanity. Our guy is racing through the forest as the countdown approaches 0. Bjorn releases a loud bang to signal the beginning of the hunt, looking far too excited about it. This maniac admits he's hooked on the thrill of the chase and prepares to move. Bjorn takes a deep sniff, honing in on the scent of sheer, unfiltered fear. Our guy starts tracking his target, pondering where the little coward might be hiding. Bjorn starts shouting into the woods, calling out the hiding bear like some game show host. Our guy gives the unfortunate bear a 3-second countdown to show himself or suffer the consequences. The anxious bear is drenched in sweat while clinging to a tree, praying Bjorn can't count. Bjorn wraps up his count and grins, declaring playtime officially finished. He cautions his target not to get caught as the anxious bear bolts away in a panic. Bjorn quickly spots the fool hiding up in the tree, bringing this game of hide and seek to an end. The jittery bear catches a rustling sound beneath him, realizing his hiding place was useless. Bjorn's face emerges through the foliage with a creepy found you look. The frightened bear completely freaks out, screaming in sheer terror. Bjorn begins to scale the tree, teasing the guy for being scared after he was warned. Bjorn continues to climb, telling the poor fella that the game is officially done, and just like that, the anxious bear is on the ground, injured and resigned to his fate. Bjorn looms over his fresh kill, noting that he got one, while the rest of the family must have escaped. He glances into the woods, guessing the mama bear and her cubs are long gone by now. My man takes a moment to catch his breath after that little game of tag. He figures he'll hunt the others later, saying there's no rush in having fun. Priorities in order. He turns back to the first bear he caught to finish his meal. We get a gnarly close-up of Bjorn tearing into the carcass like it's a buffet. He lets out a pleased roar after having his fill of fresh meat. This cannibal strolls off, casually mentioning how delicious it is to feast on his own kind. The narrator delivers a lesson on how hunting is evidently quite the chore. We see the mama bear who had escaped earlier, now following footprints to feed her cub. She's focused, attempting to solve the trail like a detective. The poor girl is slogging across the plains, demonstrating just how exhausting the hunt can be. She's panting and worn out, but still pushing onward to find a meal. The mama bear positions herself, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce on her prey, but her hunting instincts suddenly spike as she realizes she's not alone. She glances over her shoulder, utterly terrified by an unseen presence. My girl is paralyzed, staring at the figure on the hill in sheer horror. And it's Bjorn casually praising her for how far she managed to run. Mama bear is completely breathless, utterly exhausted from the chase. She lets out a final, desperate scream, understanding she's totally trapped. My girl makes a final attempt to escape, yelling at him to stay back. Bjorn just grins, calling her cute and stating it's time to conclude the game. The narrator confirms this psycho isn't really hunting. Mama bear is just fleeing for her life. We're told this is simply twisted amusement for him as he enjoys the chase. Bjorn decides to take his time, saying he doesn't want to tire himself out. The narrator clarifies he loves teasing his victims just before the kill, and naturally, she trips over a tree branch in her panic. Mama bear hits the ground, her desperate escape coming to an all too predictable end. Mama bear is flat on the ground, completely winded and accepting her fate. Bjorn casually strolls over, telling her this is the end of the line for her. My man actually commends her for being the first to last 3 days in his twisted game. Fully defeated, Mama Bear questions why the heck he's even doing this. Bjorn looks genuinely puzzled, asking her to elaborate on what she means. She completely loses it, shouting at him for hunting his own kind and trespassing. Bjorn just grins. She asks if she truly wants to hear his twisted reasons. Mama Bear affirms that, yes, she's curious why her life is in danger. This total lunatic glances down and confesses that he does it simply because it's a thrill. She gasps as Bjorn elaborates that he takes prime meat whenever he spots it. Bjorn articulates his simple, twisted logic: he's powerful, it's entertaining, so he goes for it. He raises his paw for the final strike while Mama Bear makes a desperate last-minute plea. Bjorn brutally takes her down, taunting her for pleading right at the very last moment. He lets out a content sigh, blood splattered across his face as if it's nothing. We get a gruesome view of Mama Bear's crushed skull while Bjorn revels in the sensation. This cannibal licks his lips, enjoying the kill as one would savor a rich wine. We flash back to baby Bjorn, who believes he finally grasped his mother's lesson. His mom is still scolding him about not taking food and getting along with his sibling. Baby Bjorn begrudgingly agrees to his mother's demands, likely just to silence her. Mama Bear lifts her little monster, saying it's bedtime. Mama Bear tells baby Bjorn he'll eventually see that she was right about everything. We shift to another Mama Bear snoozing peacefully with her 3 cubs in their den. Back to the present, adult Bjorn emits a self-satisfied chuckle, clearly up to mischief. He decides he's not finished for the day and sets off in search of more excitement. Bjorn walks across the plains, spotting something lying far away. We see a leopard's eye flicker open, keen and fully alert. A young leopard glances over its shoulder, sensing that something isn't quite right. The leopard cub turns its head, still alert after being roused from slumber. The cub asks its mother if she's awake, to which she simply responds with a grunt that she isn't. The mama leopard instructs her cubs to return to sleep, completely oblivious to the lurking threat. We pan to a mammoth skull as the narrator bids goodnight to a new character named Aaron. We flash back to a younger Bjorn who claims he was a skilled hunter after departing from home. But in the very next scene, he's shown failing to catch even a single horse from a herd. Young Bjorn throws a fit as the narrator reveals he was actually pretty inexperienced then. He's utterly exhausted, learning the hard truth that hunting takes real effort. He calls his younger self naive while whining about having to settle for a salad for dinner. Young Bjorn is forced to munch on grass, looking utterly revolted by his life choices. He bemoans how flavorless the greens are, pondering how anyone could eat this rubbish. He starts complaining about how his mom used to bring home meat for him all the time. And it turns out Mama Bear was indeed a powerhouse, dragging home meals for her picky child. Young Bjorn glances around, already seeking the easiest meal possible. He admits that chasing fast prey like horses is too labor-intensive. He then thinks about the macrokinia, those bizarre long-necked creatures, but quickly realizes those gigantic beasts are far beyond his capability to tackle. He then spots a gypodon but knows that armored tank is nearly impossible to crack. Even the smaller creatures like tapirs frustrate him because they are too incredibly agile. Young Bjorn heaves a disappointed sigh, realizing that hunting is genuinely tough work. He begins to wish for a way to enjoy a full meal without any effort. The narrator hints that his lazy prayers are about to be answered as he catches a whiff on the breeze. Our guy stumbles upon a fresh carcass, realizing he's just hit the jackpot with a free tasty meal. Young Bjorn sneaks through the grass, grumbling that he can't see what his nose is picking up. A puma is mid-bite on a carcass and looks up, utterly baffled by the commotion. Our boy's eyes widen as he realizes he's crashed someone else's dinner party. The puma completely freaks out and bolts, leaving young Bjorn just standing there. He watches the cat sprint away, realizing it was too engrossed in its meal to notice him. Young Bjorn looks back, a light bulb clearly illuminating in his brain. He glances at the abandoned meal the puma left behind, a perfectly good peccary. A close-up of his eye reveals the narrator confirming our boy is having a breakthrough. Young Bjorn inches closer to the free feast, realizing he's just discovered the ultimate life hack. The narrator explains this is the moment he figured out how to leverage his natural gift. Young Bjorn lets out a triumphant roar, fully embracing his new identity as a professional bully. My guy announces his new motto: if hunting is tough, just snatch the darn food. He stands over his pilfered prize, calling the original owners cowards for fleeing. Our boy takes a hearty bite, confirming that stolen meat is indeed the best kind. The narrator explains he began snagging food from saber-tooths, jaguars, and wolves. We see a jaguar dashing off after getting its lunch money snatched by Bjorn. A whole pack of wolves is forced to retreat as he declares they just give up their meal. Young Bjorn relishes another taken kill, commenting on how tender the flesh is. However, the narrator notes that some predators, like this saber-tooth, actually attempted to fight back. Even a wolf is shown gearing up, not willing to let go of its dinner without a struggle. The wolf that tried to resist is now howling in sheer agony. The saber-tooth ends up with its jaw completely rearranged for trying to protect its food. The wolf has its neck snapped back, learning a tough lesson about ownership. Young Bjorn boasts that no one could withstand his blows, showcasing the knocked-out saber-tooth. We see another one of his defeated challengers sprawled out on the grass, utterly defeated. Young Bjorn looms over the fallen, laughing his head off at their foolishness. My guy admits he ate the losers as well, because who would waste good meat? The narrator explains, this high-protein diet made him incredibly muscular. He felt like he was absorbing their power, leveling up with each kill. And just like that, he became an absolute powerhouse, even among his peers. Young Bjorn roars triumphantly over his rivals' bodies, solidifying his status as an object of fear. My man licks his bloody paw, clearly relishing his new life as the neighborhood bully. He's shown completely overpowering another bear while boasting that everyone fears him. We see a close-up of his victim's shattered neck as he proclaims no one dares to fight against him. Young Bjorn stands over yet another kill, roaring that it's all thanks to his incredible strength. The narrator states this is how it should be, with everyone running away in fear of him. Suddenly, a wounded animal starts screeching, cutting into Bjorn's little power trip. Young Bjorn glances over, clearly irritated that someone is making noise on his territory. A gigantic saber-toothed tiger emerges, roaring like it's primed and ready for a showdown. The saber-tooth sizes up Bjorn, looking like an entirely different species. A random mammoth skull casually sits in the meadow, setting up the scene for this clash. The saber-tooth emits a low growl, showing it's unbothered by our guy's rep. Young Bjorn is completely taken aback, questioning if this feline is honestly out of its mind. He can't believe this saber-tooth isn't running away but standing her ground. He's about to chalk it up to craziness until he notices something in the grass. We quickly catch a glimpse of a shadowy little den hidden from view. And there it is, 2 frightened saber-tooth cubs are tucked inside. Bjorn wears a smug grin, realizing this fierce mom is only ready to fight to guard her offspring. The saber-tooth mom flinches, knowing he has just uncovered her one true vulnerability. Our boy is pumped for the challenge, encouraging her to thrash around all she wants for his entertainment. Young Bjorn dares the saber-tooth mom to fight for his amusement. He vows to make her endure until her final breath. Looking utterly deranged, a terrified scream resounds from the den. As the brawl officially begins, one of the saber-tooth cubs makes a dash for it, fleeing for its life. The little one is already exhausted, pausing to catch its breath amid the panic. The cub dives into a bush, hiding and praying for luck. Young Bjorn unleashes a roar, clearly relishing this hunt. He nonchalantly swats away the saber-tooth mom as she lunges at him. The other cub is still concealed by the den, completely frozen with fear. Mama Saber-tooth is on the ground, still growling, refusing to yield. Young Bjorn gets irritated, gearing up to throw a punch and shouting at the saber-tooth mom. Our boy swings wide, yelling at the cat to perish as she evades his strike. He completely misses, grumbling that she's too quick and dodges like a sneaky rat. The saber-tooth mom keeps her distance, and Bjorn realizes she's staying just out of his grasp. The two circle each other, and our boy has to admit this cat actually knows how to throw down. Young Bjorn halts the onslaught, realizing she's not even attempting to guard her meal. We see the slain prey here, confirming it's entirely left alone in the grass. The saber-tooth mom remains vigilant, and Bjorn figures out her sole aim is to safeguard her offspring. Our guy is still puzzled, questioning why she didn't just grab her kids and flee. They face off again as Bjorn wonders if she genuinely believes she can prevail. Young Bjorn realizes the saber-tooth mom is merely trying to buy time for her cubs, but our boy notices none of the cubs have actually attempted to escape. A sudden light bulb moment hits him as he starts piecing things together. He concludes the cubs must be unable to flee, cornering their mom. This wild grin spreads on his face, seeing he's found a way to amp up the fun of this battle. The saber-tooth mom holds her ground, completely unaware he's discovered her weakness. Bjorn gets fired up and instantly begins the assault, declaring, "This makes it more exciting." Our guy is laughing like crazy while chasing her down as if it's a wild game. The saber-tooth mom is baffled by his erratic swings, questioning if he has any strategy. Bjorn lands another clumsy blow, showing that sheer strength is his only tactic. The saber-tooth mother believes that his wild antics will only exhaust him quicker. Young Bjorn bellows loudly, calling her a reckless fool in this scenario. She resolves to let the idiot tire himself out, aiming to wait for her chance. Bjorn begins to slow down, and both creatures think their strategy is working flawlessly. Our guy Bjorn gives a look that implies he's been toying with her the entire time. The saber-toothed mother senses her opportunity and decides to act. She goes for the attack, charging in now that she believes he's finally worn out. But Bjorn was just pretending, poised to slam his paw down and finish this fight once and for all. He delivers a blow with enough force to shake the entire ground. He crashes a log, sending it flying as a distraction or a makeshift weapon. The saber-toothed mother leaps into the air, claws bared, trying to catch Bjorn off guard. She emits a thunderous roar, aiming to sink her fangs into his neck, but Bjorn simply swats her out of the sky, slamming her down like a rag doll. The saber-toothed mother is spewing blood, utterly shocked that his trap worked. The unfortunate cub peeks out from the bushes, witnessing its mother getting utterly destroyed. Young Bjorn begins to gloat, asking her how she enjoyed his Oscar-worthy act. My guy reveals he was aware she aimed for his neck since it's a classic tactic. He taunts the battered saber-toothed mother, telling her that she should have used her head. Bjorn becomes all condescending, remarking that she wouldn't understand since they belong to different species. Trapped and bleeding, the saber-toothed mother still growls, refusing to concede. Young Bjorn mocks the pinned saber-toothed mother, inquiring what she's grumbling about. The saber-toothed mother sinks her fangs deep into Bjorn's shoulder, unwilling to relent. Our guy's eyes widen, completely astounded that she actually managed to inflict pain on him. Bjorn starts thrashing wildly, entirely losing his composure over her desperate counterattack. The saber-toothed mother shouts at him to let go, even though she's the one attached to him. My guy flails around like a complete fool, complaining that this cat just won't release him. Bjorn emits a true scream of agony as her teeth sink deep into his muscle. He continues to scream, realizing this creature is genuinely trying to kill him. The saber-toothed mother bites down even harder, refusing to give him an inch. Bjorn loses his mind, repeatedly smashing her into the ground while yelling for her to perish. Young Bjorn keeps battering the saber-toothed mother into the ground like a madman. The saber-toothed mother is a bloody wreck after that brutal beating. My guy is panting heavily, finally grasping that this fight actually required some effort. He looms over her body, calling her a leech for having the audacity to bite him. The saber-toothed mother is officially out for the count, completely annihilated. This nutjob chooses not to eat her just yet, remembering there's still one cub left to torment. My guy starts to walk away, ready to find the other kid to complete his twisted game. A swarm of vultures swiftly descends upon the saber-toothed mother's fresh corpse. The scavengers are already stripping her clean, leaving absolutely nothing behind. We cut back to the bush where the cub is hiding, listening to the entire ordeal. The other saber-toothed cub lies dead, confirming that Bjorn has concluded his twisted game. The surviving cub peeks out from its hiding spot only to discover its sibling's corpse. The unfortunate kid is utterly terrified, realizing his whole family has just been erased from existence. Young Bjorn lets out a colossal, blood-curdling yawn, utterly uninterested after his little rampage. He trudges away, feeling drained, but notices something feels off, trying to shake off the sensation. He just keeps moving, grumbling as that uneasy feeling intensifies. He eventually bursts into a full-on panic sprint, acknowledging that his instincts were spot on. He's sweating and shouting, finally losing his composure for the very first time. He starts flailing in a frenzy as something invisible begins to wreak havoc on his eyes roll back as he realizes he is completely and utterly, and a massive rhino gives Bjorn a look that says you, up right before the smackdown. The rhino body slams young Bjorn, giving him a taste of his own medicine. He's sprawled on the ground, drenched in sweat as the rhino towers over him like a bouncer. And, shockingly, the rhino brought his whole posse, and they're all thoroughly annoyed. Young Bjorn is gasping, finally understanding what it's like to be the target. Our guy is totally encircled by the rhino herd, searching for an escape that just isn't there. The lead rhino bellows, practically telling him he chose the wrong hood to act tough in. Young Bjorn is spiraling into a full existential crisis, questioning how everything flipped so quickly. The entire herd begins to chase him down as he reflects on his life decisions. The narrator takes us to a flashback, revealing that this whole disaster began 6 months prior. Young Bjorn examines his swollen paw, lamenting that the injury is escalating. He's still fuming at the saber-toothed mother, blaming her for his mangled paw. In a fit of frustration, he spits on the ground. Clearly, he's not coping well with the pain. Bjorn resigns to his fate, confessing he can't even run with his paw in this condition. The guy decides that hunting is out of the question until he heals, looking entirely disheartened. But he swiftly reverts to his bully mentality, opting to steal food instead. He lists his common targets, confident that there are plenty of easy marks to rob for a meal. Our guy sets off to seek a simple prey, ready to maintain his reign of terror. The narrator suggests strongly that things are about to take a nosedive for my man. Bjorn halts abruptly, suddenly hit by a very ominous feeling. Young Bjorn complains that after wandering all day, he He hasn't even caught a whiff of blood. He sniffs the air, deducing that absolutely no hunting has occurred nearby. Our boy wonders if every other predator in the vicinity has decided to fast. He opts to call it a day, figuring he'll just have to venture farther tomorrow. He decides to rest and conserve his energy, convinced that tomorrow cannot possibly be as bleak. The narrator notes that Bjorn merely thought it was a stroke of bad luck and then fell asleep. A whole group of eerie crows perches on a tree, which is always an ominous sign. He sleeps soundly, blissfully unaware of the absolute chaos on the horizon. A time jump shows our boy wandering for 4 consecutive days without encountering a single thing. On the 5th day, he finally halts, sensing that something is seriously off. Young Bjorn finally comes to a standstill, his foot hitting the ground with a thud of sheer fatigue. My man's expression contorts in confusion as the narrator confirms that his slow mind is finally catching on to the truth. He glances over the barren fields, pondering why every single animal has suddenly vanished. The guy wonders why the grasslands are so deserted as the narrator reveals that things have taken a serious turn for the worse. A light bulb finally flickers on in his thick head as he starts to question if he might be the issue. Young Bjorn looks around, asking if everyone really left just to escape his toxic presence. He stands all alone in the vast expanse, coming to the shocking realization that he is the last predator remaining in this deserted town. The narrator explains that everyone grew tired of having their lunch money taken and their faces smashed in. We see the wolf pack from earlier actually migrating, as they'd prefer to starve elsewhere. Even the big cats pack their stuff, leaving Bjorn's territory utterly devoid of rivals. Young Bjorn's lip quivers in raw, unfiltered rage over being deserted. My man throws a fit, accusing everyone of being cowards for leaving him behind. The narrator clarifies that it's simply a matter of survival, showcasing the saber-toothed mother and her cubs. We observe the wolf pack relaxing, illustrating that steering clear of a psycho is a wise choice. This fool yells for them to return, still oblivious to the fact that he is the issue. The realization dawns on him finally, that if he wishes to eat, he must actually put in the effort. My man decides to hunt for himself, sprinting across the plain. He immediately begins chasing some deer, hollering at them like a complete maniac. The narrator mocks him, stating his physique and skills are inadequate for real hunting. Our boy is already worn out, grumbling that the prey is too swift and he feels like passing out. Young Bjorn's legs start shaking uncontrollably from sheer fatigue and hunger. The narrator teases us with, "But wait, there's more," as Bjorn appears absolutely furious. And just like that, my man completely faceplants in the middle of the chase, eating a mouthful of dirt. He lies on the ground moaning that his injured foreleg from that saber-tooth encounter is acting up. Our boy recognizes he needs to eat and rest to recover, but he's been running on fumes for days. The narrator explains he's caught in a catch-22. Moving causes him pain, yet staying still means he will starve. My man is officially trapped in a relentless cycle of agony, injury, and hunger. He's sprawled out, aware that he must eat for his paw to heal, but he's got absolutely nothing at all. Young Bjorn concedes for the day, accepting he'll be going to bed hungry once more, and he's back to munching on grass, looking just as repulsed by his life as he did the first time. Young Bjorn grumbles about the disgusting grass, saying he can't even force it down. The narrator confirms that our boy is finally recognizing just how messed up his situation truly is. He concedes that he can't hunt with his injured leg and won't survive on a measly salad. My man knows he needs a substantial amount of meat quickly, but he's too exhausted to go find something to rob. He realizes that even if he avoids starvation, he's going to become incredibly weak. The dude concludes he must secure food by any means necessary, whether that's hunting or stealing. The narrator agrees with his reasoning, but warns of a significant however coming. Our boy peeks through the grass as the narrator cautions that a well-thought-out plan can still go awry. A few mastodons arrive, and Bjorn instantly begins grumbling about the noise. He acknowledges he isn't in a position to be choosy and is actually contemplating this crazy fight. My guy decides he can't afford to wait any longer and jumps into this totally wild mastodon hunt. He quickly targets the weak link, zeroing in on the baby of the group. Our hero hides in the grass, planning to wait for the young one to stray from the herd. His brilliant strategy is to just injure it, let it bleed out, then come back for the body later. The narrator reminds us that everyone has a plan. As Bjorn waits for his chance, a massive mastodon suddenly faces him, utterly ruining his day. Young Bjorn instantly freaks out and bolts for his life. My guy is sprinting across the plains as the entire herd begins to chase him. He's yelling his head off, finally experiencing what it's like to be the prey. Then, a gigantic tusk unexpectedly sends him soaring through the air. Young Bjorn is airborne, screaming his lungs out after being launched by that mastodon. A rhino gives him a cold, dead stare as he crashes back to the ground. My guy slams down as the rhino looms over him, ready to continue the beatdown. The rhino snorts in disgust while Bjorn lies there, completely shattered and terrified. The whole rhino herd starts letting out a mighty roar in unison, clearly out for blood. Young Bjorn is on the ground, panting and realizing he's got no options left. He looks up to find himself completely surrounded by the furious rhino gang. The lead rhino emits a final war cry, practically signaling the start of the execution. Our boy experiences a full-blown panic attack, wondering how his life turned upside down so quickly. The herd charges as he questions how he ended up on the receiving end. The narrator rewinds 6 months to show where this fool messed up. Young Bjorn complains that his paw is swelling more instead of healing. He's still grumbling about the saber-toothed mom, wishing he had wrecked her corpse. My guy spits in frustration, completely fed up with his situation. He finally accepts reality, admitting he can't even run with his leg this messed up. Our boy decides hunting is off limits until he's fully healed from his injury, but then he immediately reverts to his old tricks, thinking he'll just swipe food instead. He starts listing the predators he usually bullies, believing he has plenty of options. My guy sets out to find an easy meal, but the narrator hints that his plan is about to fall apart. Bjorn comes to a sudden halt, getting a really bad feeling as he starts to sweat. Young Bjorn complains that after wandering all day, he hasn't even caught a whiff of blood. He sniffs around, concluding that absolutely no hunting has taken place nearby. Our boy wonders if every other predator decided to start fasting or something. My guy gives up for the day, figuring he'll have to search further out tomorrow. He opts to rest up and conserve energy, convinced that tomorrow can't possibly be a repeat. The narrator mentions that Bjorn just thinks it's an unlucky day and drifts off to sleep. A murder of creepy crows watches him from a tree, which is never a good sign. He sleeps deeply, completely unaware of the nightmare about to unfold. A time skip shows our boy roaming around for 4 straight days without spotting anything. On the 5th day, he finally comes to a stop, sensing that something is seriously off here. Young Bjorn plants his foot, finally fed up with his aimless and hungry wandering. My guy's expression contorts in bewilderment, realizing something is truly off. The narrator points out that our cocky protagonist is finally catching on as he surveys the desolate area. He wonders why the richest land is now deserted. As the narrator validates his deepest fear, his eyes widen as he dares to ask the crucial question: is this my fault? He glances down, perspiration forming, as the grim reality dawns on him that everyone has fled from his presence. A wide shot reveals his solitary figure as he understands he's the final predator left standing. The narrator clarifies that getting killed over a meal was no longer an option for anyone. We see the wolf pack again, showing they've literally moved on to a different server. The big cats are also seen leaving the neighborhood bully with no victims to torment. Young Bjorn's lip quivers in pure, unfiltered anger over being deserted. My guy throws a fit, calling everyone cowards for abandoning his toxic self. The narrator explains it's merely a matter of survival. With a view of the saber-toothed mother and her cubs, we see the wolf pack relaxing, demonstrating that steering clear of a lunatic is a wise choice. This dude yells for them to return, still oblivious that he's the root of the issue, and the realization finally dawns on him that to eat, he must actually put in some effort. My guy finally opts to hunt for himself, sprinting across the plains. He immediately begins pursuing a few deer, yelling at them like a total maniac. The narrator pokes fun, stating his physique and skills are pathetic for actual hunting. Our guy is already exhausted, whining about how fast the prey is and that he's about to collapse. His leg finally gives way, trembling like a leaf after that sad attempt at hunting. The narrator chimes in, letting us know that his troubles are just beginning. Our boy face plants into the grass like a complete novice. He immediately starts whining about his injured leg, still blaming that saber-toothed mom. The dude finally starts connecting the dots. No food means no recovery, and he's been starving. The narrator lays out his hopeless predicament. Starving by staying put or worsening by moving. Just like that, our boy finds himself caught in a downward spiral of his own making. He's utterly drained, aware his body can't recover without a meal he can't obtain. My guy calls it quits, resigning himself to another night with an empty stomach. So, it's back to grazing for dinner, and he looks completely miserable about it. Young Bjorn literally gags on the grass, spitting it out in utter revulsion. My guy complains about how disgusting the greens are, claiming he can't even swallow it. The narrator confirms our boy is finally coming to terms with how deeply in trouble he really is. He admits he can't hunt with his injured leg and won't survive on mere greens. My guy knows he needs a lot of meat quickly, but he's too exhausted to track someone down to steal from. The dude concludes that even if he doesn't starve, he'll end up significantly weaker. He decides he must get food by any means necessary, whether that means hunting or thievery. The narrator agrees with his assessment, but a massive, however, is looming. Our boy peeks through the grass as the narrator warns that even a good plan can still go wrong. A couple of mastodons arrive, and Bjorn immediately starts whining about the noise. Young Bjorn grumbles that he'd prefer to fight something smaller, but understands he can't afford to be picky. He observes the herd moving by, realizing he must take this opportunity or face starvation. Our guy zeroes in on the tiniest mastodon. Naturally aiming for the easier prey, he stays concealed, scheming to strike when the young one drifts away from the pack. The plan is to inflict a severe wound, let it bleed out, and then retrieve the carcass later. The narrator mentions how everyone has a plan as Bjorn bides his time for a chance. And then, surprise, a colossal mastodon appears directly in front of him. Our boy's face contorts in sheer horror as he realizes his brilliant scheme just went south. He leaps up from the grass, utterly shocked by the giant that just sneaked up on him. The mastodon emits a thunderous roar, clearly unimpressed by the assassination attempt. Young Bjorn is sweating profusely, completely speechless at the enormous creature facing him. We zoom in on the mastodon's eye, filled with unrestrained fury. Our boy finally confronts his fate, realizing that his clever plan was an utter failure. The mastodon charges forward, and my guy is far too slow to respond. In an instant, the mastodon hurls him into the air like a football. A close-up reveals the massive tusk swinging with enough force to end his entire career. The mastodon's trunk strikes in midair, adding insult to what is now severe injury. Our boy is tossed through the air, completely out of control, heading toward a rough landing. He crashes back to earth, skidding like a ragdoll. Our boy is totally wrecked, finally accepting that he's about to meet his end. The mastodon looms over young Bjorn, poised to finish this once and for all. The gigantic beast raises its foot, ready for the final crushing stomp. Our boy emits a pitiful groan, fully aware he's utterly finished, and the mastodon pounds him into the ground, making him scream in pure agony. The mother mastodon and her young one watch as the dust settles over Bjorn's flattened form. The mastodon turns away and walks off, leaving our boy for dead in the grass. The big fellow releases a satisfied huff, clearly proud of that beating. The entire herd trumpets in triumph before they decide to move on. The herd passes by, leaving our boy's bloody, broken body behind without a second look. Young Bjorn is barely conscious, weakly questioning if the coast is finally clear. He lies shattered on the ground, somehow still alive after that brutal beatdown. The narrator confirms that our boy's life has hit rock bottom following this reality check. My man struggles to rise, his body quaking from the immense pounding he just endured. He wonders if his arm is broken as the narrator states that every part of him got stomped. Our boy stumbles away, feeling fortunate to be alive, but the narrator gives him a firm no. He collapses once more, realizing it might have been better to perish than to live in this agony. His paw trembles as the narrator asserts this new broken life is a living nightmare. The guy is breathing heavily, pondering why the lake seems so far away now. He admits that with his injured body, even getting water feels like a mission, and hunting is absolutely out of the question. My man is stuck on a plant-based diet, but that doesn't mean he's stopped craving meat. Young Bjorn explains that eating has turned into a miserable task he endures just to survive. My guy admits that his new all-vegetable diet is making him lose all his muscle mass. He looks super scrawny, proving he's dwindling away without any substantial food. To make things worse, a few wolves start barking wildly nearby. The wolf pack he used to pick on is now feasting on a fresh kill right in front of him. Our boy is fuming that even these pathetic wolves aren't afraid of him any longer. He attempts to save his pride, claiming he's leaving because they're filthy, not because he's become weak. But one of the wolves calls his bluff and charges at him right away. The wolf leaps onto his back, and our boy is completely taken aback by this sudden onslaught. The whole pack rushes him as he panics, questioning why they've suddenly gotten brave. Young Bjorn is getting thoroughly overwhelmed in a cloud of dust, yelling for the wolves to let him go. He finally breaks free and bolts, calling the wolves insane for having the audacity to fight back. The wolves watch him escape as the narrator points out that his list of new enemies is escalating now. Even the saber-tooths and jaguars are after him, and they look downright furious. Our boy is sweating profusely, hearing the roars of every predator he's ever wronged. The narrator mentions that even the kids are becoming bold enough to confront him now. A random bear dad insults Bjorn from afar, calling him a fading has-been. The cub asks if that pathetic figure is the notorious Bjorn, but his dad insists there's no way. Our boy just keeps trudging along, utterly defeated and aware that his reputation is in shambles. The narrator elaborates that even the creatures he once hunted are now freely mocking him. Young Bjorn stumbles through the forest looking like a shadow of his former self. He admits he pushed his broken body too hard and probably pulled a muscle. Our boy has a complete breakdown, questioning how he ended up in such a sorry state. He starts blaming the saber-toothed mom, wondering if that's where his downfall began. Or maybe it was when that herd of mastodons used him as a doormat. He even ponders if it all started earlier, back when he was driving everyone out of town. The dude is having a full-blown identity crisis, trying to nail down the exact moment he messed up. He takes a heavy step, still lost in thought about where his life went wrong, and his weak body finally collapses, causing him to completely lose his balance. My guy stumbles right off the side of a cliff, his pity party coming to an abrupt halt. Young Bjorn tumbles down the cliff like a rag doll. After his pity session, he crashes into the ground, spewing drool after that brutal landing. Our boy wakes up looking totally dazed, wondering what the heck just happened. The dude is so ruined, he has to ask himself if he's even still alive. He realizes it's already morning, meaning he was knocked out cold for the entire night. My guy looks up at the enormous cliff in disbelief that he survived that tumble. He figures the soft ground must have cushioned his fall, saving his sorry self. He starts bragging about being tough to kill, but suddenly notices something off-screen. A close-up of his eye shows he's focused on something, and his luck might be about to change. And there it is. A dead mastodon that resembles a lavish feast has just fallen from the sky. Young Bjorn is left utterly speechless, discovering not just one but two deceased mastodons at the cliff's edge. My guy is utterly perplexed, questioning what in the world he's witnessing after his streak of bad luck. He tentatively places a paw on one of the corpses, likely ensuring he isn't dreaming from hunger. The dude confirms they are both lifeless, realizing he just stumbled upon a gold mine. He's already plotting his 2-month feast, but wonders why these massive creatures just dropped dead. Our guy examines the remains, noticing they're thin, yet show no signs of battle. He steps on the soil and finds it dry on top, but sinks like quicksand beneath the surface. The dude concludes that the sticky ground is a serious hazard, far worse than ordinary mud. He surveys the area, piecing together that this whole spot is merely disguised as solid earth. My guy gazes over the entire valley, suspecting it's an ancient riverbed that ensnared the mastodons. Young Bjorn validates his hypothesis, realizing the mire is what caused the demise of these hefty creatures. He figures they picked the riverbed because it appeared to be an easier route than climbing the steep slopes. The foolish beasts wandered straight into the valley, assuming they were taking a shortcut. And like that, their feet became hopelessly ensnared in the muck, trapping them indefinitely. They struggled until they were utterly exhausted and ultimately succumbed to sheer fatigue. Our guy realizes that his slender frame is the reason he didn't get stuck in the mire as well. The narrator drops an interesting tidbit about this happening to elephants in Africa. My man gets a bit overconfident, thinking he's just too tough to take down. He plunges his paw into the all-you-can-eat buffet, eager to indulge in a real meal. Our boy takes a gigantic bite, finally savoring meat after his enforced herbivore diet. Young Bjorn announces this is his lowest point, and he's gearing up for his comeback. My man is absolutely tearing into this mastodon, reclaiming his strength one bite at a time. He pledges to return to being the formidable beast everyone used to fear. The narrator notes that this is the moment our guy finally determined to get his together. He resolves to start utilizing his surroundings, realizing raw power alone isn't enough. And his first target is a rhino, blaring its horn off after getting trapped in the muck. Our boy is seen pursuing the rhino, using the deadly valley as his custom hunting ground. The rhino is completely ensnared in the mud, realizing it walked directly into a trap. Young Bjorn roars, eager to finish the job now that his prey is immobilized. He explains he no longer needs to sprint, he simply has to wait for fools to get stuck. My guy admits his new trapping technique is straightforward enough for his wounded body to handle, but he knows he can't sit around waiting for fools to muck it up all day. He stumbles upon a rhino's leftover meal, marking his official transition to a full-time scavenger. Our boy patiently hides in the bushes until the rhinos leave. Finally mastering the art of patience, he confesses he's not too proud to scavenge now. Feasting on the remnants, the dude finally realizes that in his current condition, those rhinos would completely overpower him. He grumbles about them leaving insufficient meat, deciding to lay low until he's back to full strength. The narrator poses the crucial question, what occurs when there are no scraps to pilfer? And the answer is, my man is back to his dreaded all-grass diet, looking defeated. He chokes down the greens, claiming he has no options if he wants to satisfy his hunger. Our guy chooses to concentrate on filling his belly and keeping a low profile in his new hideout. He's finally starting to think straight, deciding to take a break and allow his injured body to properly recuperate. Our lad reminds himself to stay patient because this entire healing process is for his future comeback. 6 months later, he's finally in decent shape to venture beyond his small, dangerous valley. A year has passed, and his joints are functioning well again, and he's moving like he used to. After 2 years, even the wolf pack that attacked him now appears quite uneasy. Our guy is back on the hunt, and his former targets can't ignore his presence any longer. He senses that old killer instinct resurfacing, regaining his confidence after all this while. By the 3rd year, he's officially back to breaking necks and collecting checks. Young Bjorn completely trounces one of the wolves, formally declaring his return to the summit. Our man is breathing heavily after easily dismantling some young fool who dared to take him on. He licks the blood off his lips, relishing that familiar taste of triumph. Our boy emits a massive roar, officially proclaiming his resurgence to the pinnacle. He's feeling that adrenaline surge, completely high on his own strength once again. He gazes down at his defeated opponent, confirming that this is precisely what he desired. This wild one gets a crazed look in his eye, loving the sensation of that heavy impact. He roars across the plains, informing everyone that the king is back in action. The dude calls it a refreshing day because apparently, mayhem is his morning brew. He reclines, pondering how long it's been since he felt this incredible. Our guy concludes this is truly his real self. Fully embracing his identity as the apex predator, young Bjorn believes a few more weeks of healthy food and rest will have him back to full strength. Our man realizes it's been 3 whole years, admitting his comeback journey has taken way longer than he anticipated. He adopts a determined expression, clearly scheming his next move without a hint of regret. The dude decides to return to his old ground and eliminate everyone in sight this time. This wild one intends to take out their young ones, ensuring no one can ever challenge him again. He daydreams about becoming the ultimate embodiment of fear, dragging a dead cub as a trophy. Our guy aims to be so feared that no one would even dare to contemplate a challenge. A sinister smile forms on his face, genuinely thrilled for his upcoming spree of chaos. We have a serene scene of the forest, a calm before the massive storm he's set in motion. The narrator presents a quote about what doesn't kill you makes you stronger as Bjorn rests. The narrator shifts tone with a however as a mysterious feline prowls through the grass. The narrator clarifies that the stronger through suffering principle applies to everyone, not just our guy, and it becomes clear someone else has been leveling up while Bjorn was on his comeback mission. The remaining saber-toothed cub has matured and has just tracked down the scoundrel who killed it.